People are dealing with the backlash of trying to get their kids into
third story that we really want to talk about.
We're going to be talking about how to get into Harvard by deciding where your kindergartner goes to school, private school in New York City. This story really struck me, and particularly some of the acceptance rates at some of these high-end private schools. 10% acceptance rates, for example, Trinity. What do you make of this, and how much energy and money people are putting into getting their kids into certain private schools, starting in kindergarten?
This story was such an eye-popper for me. Terrific reporting from our colleagues on the Wealth team. It's one of the things that really jumped out at me is a line in the story that says, you know, this is really about the haves and the have-mores. So essentially, we've gone through a lot of change in this country in terms of wealth disparity, but now these stories that are popping up about college admissions and the admissions to nursery school or kindergarten are really showing that there's this disparity growing between the middle class and the upper to upper middle class. And
or upper class and the upper class.
Exactly.
I mean, just all the
There's no
tiers.
middle class. Yeah, I know someone who used to work for Steve Cohen, who retired when he was 36, and his kids now go to Marymount Allen Stevenson, and they feel poor, even though, like, you retired at 36, because it's just like the discrepancy is so wide.
But also, if you look at some of the stats in this story, that's understandable. I mean, the tuition at some of these schools are reportedly the same as Harvard, without room and board, of course, but $50,000 is incredible.
But it also goes to the sort of Ivy League scandal, or sort of the admission scandal that we were talking about. How clear of a path is it from some of these high-end private schools to the Ivy Leagues? And then how much does this sort of lock out people who are not on that path with those means from getting into the top schools and being able to then track themselves well?
But even like the have a little bit less, like to your point. I mean, I went to Sacred Heart, which would be considered a baby Ivy. It was 20% of my parents' income. I adjusted for inflation, and it would be 80% of their income now. So there's no way that I would ever go to that school. So just for context.
It puts parents under pressure, and it talks about how much they'll do to get their kids into different schools.
Absolutely.